Thank you to Contentsquare for this opportunity. So, in the next 15 minutes, I'm going to take you through a walk of the last 30 years of data. But listening to the presentations this morning, how lucky are we to be living out our careers right now with the technology and the data available to us to be able to help us do our job? It's absolutely mind-blowing. Which is why it's important sometimes to reflect also on the past. So before I start getting into the 30 years of my experience of data, I want to go back 58 years ago to this month, in March of 1968, where a conference very similar to this was taking place in New York. And there was a gentleman called Michael J. O'Connor. Now, he was the executive director of the Supermarket Institute of America. Now, the conference was about how is technology going to change the industry in the future? And one of the questions that came out of the conference was, how will the computer bring change? Now, remember, this is March of 1968, even before I was born. And the answer was, we're already experiencing the benefits of the miraculous machine's ability to store data, do rapid calculations, and of course, this is 1968, print out at high speeds. Now, the reason why I know this conference took place is because, as Hugo introduced me, I worked for Sainsbury's way back when for 20 years. And this conference was documented in an internal Sainsbury's magazine called the JS Journal. This is the journal here in 1968. And Lord John Sainsbury's at the time actually attended that conference. It's staggering to think that this sort of thing was taking place back in 1968, before any of us were thinking about our careers. Now, I did work for Sainsbury's for 20 years. And in fact, my job and my last kind of couple of jobs in Sainsbury's was all about data and how we were leveraging data for insights and action. This was me when I joined Sainsbury's back in a number of years ago. You'll probably notice there's a difference between what I look like today and what I looked like 30 years ago. One obvious point is I had hair, which I don't now. But in 1986, I walked into Sainsbury's very keen, and I had a 20-year career there. And the opportunity I had was to help the company leverage data for insight. In fact, help the company leverage data for insight, but also to collaborate with a number of the large CPG brands in the world, the Nestlés, the Procter & Gamble's, the Unilevers of this world. In fact, by the time we got to 2004, Sainsbury's and my team and the job that I did was recognized on the global stage for how we were basically leveraging data. In the 10th of March in 2004, I was whisked off to Barcelona, and I was able to be presented with the Global Retail Technology Award for how Sainsbury's was leveraging data. A couple of things about this. First of all, 22 years ago, I now look like this. So I've moved on slightly. I've still got hair, but now I've got glasses. And the other thing that amazes me about this picture is this is me with my team, is for some reason 22 years ago, we were asked to go to the workplace dressed like we were going to a wedding. I have no idea, but this was the dress code that everybody wore to work 22 years ago. But what we won the award for was the fact that we were able to store data, and then we were able to sort of move that data overnight, and we were able to put it into another portal in order for a supplier to be able to log into that data and be able to download that data into CSV files in order to move it to another platform, in order to get it ready, to be prepared to actually action it. That's what we won for technology innovation 22 years ago. I was actually given an award for that. Now, the history of data, I've already sort of mentioned we've all gone back to 1968. But imagine a world where we were actually living through the batch era. If you were working at this moment in time in your career, in the batch era, if you wanted to know something about how a product was performing, and you wanted to understand how it was performing in October, it would sometimes take up to 15 to 30 days to get that answer. And if you think about the incredible insight that's been presented today and the instant understanding of customer behavior, if you go back to the batch era, you asked somebody in your business, can we find out how many cucumbers we sold in how many baskets in the last week? And somebody would say, yeah, just give us a couple of weeks and I'll get back to you. Can you imagine living through an era like that? Of course, you fast forward to the dashboard era, and I'm sure many people in this room are using dashboards today just to get an insight into how your part of the business is performing. And then, of course, we've heard a lot this morning about the streaming era. The ability, once a customer has purchased something, the ability to analyze it straight away. And we've also heard the words, and the words has been thrown out this morning on the presentation, milliseconds, the autonomous era. You know, where we're heading to now is how much of this is going to be automated. So we get up to the present day, and this is me today. So I lead our retail industry go-to-market for Snowflake here in EMEA. That is me. That is really me. Although that is 2 years ago, the day after I got back from Santorini, one of the best holidays I've had. It's the best photo I could find of myself. And so I'm now leading the retail industry practice for Snowflake. And now we're talking about, have we got our data ready for this agentic era? Now, Lord John Sainsbury's went to New York in 1968. I went 2 months ago this year. I went to the National Retail Federation conference, and I sat in the keynote just like this, and I listened to Ed Stack, who is the founder's son of Dick's Sporting Goods, and now the executive chairman. And he was asked the question, you know, what do you think about AI? And he said, well, not many people know where this is going to take us, but we're looking at it as a productivity tool, not a human replacement. Now, I haven't heard too much about this morning, so I really want to emphasize this. There is an abundance of data today. It is simply unbelievable in terms of the data that we have access to. And we've been introduced already, just in this morning's keynote, to a number of intelligent agents. But I want you to think about this when you go back to work tomorrow. First of all, what is the business outcome you are trying to solve for today? What is causing you the biggest problem in your business that data, if you take advantage of it, and be able to capitalize on the AI and agents' capability, what are you trying to actually improve on from a business outcomes perspective? Now, time to insight is really, really important because I talked about the fact that if you lived in the batch era, you might get an answer back within 2 weeks. Now we want to get to the point where as soon as we have an idea, we want to be able to get that answer. And we want to get an answer that we can do something with. One way to do that is to make sure that you connect to all access to all your data without moving or copying it. Too much of the past history has been about data having to move before you can act upon it. And so you need to connect directly to your data. But it has to be data that is trusted. So this is about your data inside your business that is governed and secure so that you know when you're asking questions to your data, it's in a safe perimeter. So I didn't realize how much intelligent agents conversations was going to go on in the keynotes this morning. So I'm preaching to what's already been said here. But yes, this is the intelligent agent era. So everyone from the C-suite all the way down to the frontline operators should now have the opportunity to have access to these agents to help us be much more productive and help us get much more insight. And of course, the way to do that is just naturally typing or speaking to your data. Now, this is just one example of Snowflake's user interface, a nice clean front screen that asks, what's the insight that you're looking to have today? And of course, you type in that that question, and it will go away and it will turn that into SQL coding, go off into the data that it's connected to, and start to understand what the situation is with that question. So I'm going to just try and put this into some sort of context. So imagine you are all category managers of a retail business today. In fact, the category that you look after is in an electronics retailer, and you're responsible for the category of headphones. So imagine a situation this morning where you've come in, you've grabbed your latte coffee, and the first thing you want to do is you want to ask the question, how do my prices compare to the competition? Now, I just want to keep reminding you, imagine going back to 1970s, and you want to ask that question, it'll be, okay, give us a few days, I'll get the answer back to you. Now, you've got your latte in your left hand, you're typing out the question in the right, you're the category manager, you are connecting to the chat interface, and then everything from the agent to the agent tools to the data layer is now automated in terms of that agent going off and doing that work for you. So understanding the intent of your question, understanding the tools it needs to select, orchestrating where it's going to go and find that data, and also understand why something is happening in a certain way. And we heard this morning talking about NCP servers. And so this question that this category manager is asking is, how do my prices compare to my competitors? Well, first of all, let's find out how your products are performing in the headphone category. So let's go to the sales. Let's go to the data catalog to understand which products we're talking about. And then also, let's go and have a look at an external data provider that can give us those price comparisons. And before you've even finished drinking your latte coffee, you've just found out that Sony headphones are being sold cheaper in terms of the competition. And that is before you've even finished your coffee. This is the world we're living in now in 2026. There's a gentleman called Thomas Badensky who has two roles in the company of TS Imagine, Chief Operating Officer and the Chief Data Analytics Officer. I had the opportunity to talk to him last month. And he said, look, when a thought goes through my head, I just want to get the answer. And that could be at any time, in any place, even at the weekends. And what I want to do is I want to get that answer fast, because I've got so many thoughts in my head, so many questions I want to ask my data. And so TS Imagine, which is a fintech company, have adopted this globally inside of their business. And the outcomes is, obviously, it's saved many thousands of hours, a cost reduction in the time to insight, and how quick they've been able to operationalize those use cases as well. It was great to hear Electrolux talking about agentic commerce, because I think this is going to be the next evolution in the retail industry. As I say, I've been working for 40 years this year. So I joined Sainsbury's when it was a brick and mortar retailer. So I've been through this journey all the way through to e-commerce and the omni-channel and bricks and clicks and AI shopping assistants. And now we're on the cusp of this agentic commerce era. And so this idea that you're going to be able to get an agent to personally go off and do the shopping for you, whether or not you choose one of these agents or you go direct to one of the websites and use the agent built inside of the company, what's going to be really, really important here is understanding your data behind this. So if I'm looking for a new pair of black jeans, then this agent needs to understand the type of brands I'm interested in, the size. It understands whether or not it's got the product that I'm looking for. Has it got that product in stock? Is it available? All of this is going to be really important. Data is going to become absolutely critical. So critical that Harley Finkelstein, the president of Shopify, said just recently, in the era of agentic commerce, your brand is no longer just your storefront. It is your data. Now, if an AI agent cannot verify your inventory, price, and compatibility in milliseconds, your brand effectively ceases to exist for the consumer. So data is going to be incredibly important in the next phase of this retail industry. 3 key takeaways for you guys to take away and ask the question back in your business tomorrow. First of all, has your company modernized their data estate? so that you can confidently start to introduce these intelligent agents alongside your own workforce. Secondly, have you made your data AI ready, which means it can semantically connect to the right data and be able to bring back the context of why something has happened in a certain way, the quality of the answer it's going to give you. And thirdly, never forget, these agents need to work with the business owner. You in the audience are the business owners. You need to own those agents. It's about you and leveraging these intelligent agents to work alongside you. So, Contentsquare said to me, Paul, you're such a visionary. You've been working for 40 years. Tell us, what's the future? And I said, well, the future for me is retired, content, and also, I have no clue. I cannot believe the innovation that is available to us today, let alone what the future's going to be. But I did look this up, and I said, well, okay, well, what are people talking about? A bit going back to what Michael J. O'Connor looked at in 1968. And so for me, here are three things that I'm thinking could and should be happening based on the technology available today. Data will move itself and be self-healing if something breaks. Seems pretty reasonable. Data will not be a problem. AI will read everything from videos to emails to sensor logs as easily as reading a list of numbers. And of course, speaking to your data will be as natural as speaking to your friends and family. But I leave you with Michael J. O'Connor, born in 1919, living in a completely different generation to all of us in this room today. The question was, come on, what does this future really look like for this industry in March of 1968? And he said, some of our far-out thinkers are now discussing the possibility of special TV sets in the kitchen of a home with a keyboard, ordering code numbers from highly automated warehouses. And they envisage food being delivered in large quantities to the people's home. Staggering, 1968. It's been an absolute pleasure to be up here, and again, I thank Contentsquare for the opportunity. If you want to find out a little bit more about Snowflake, we are in the demo area for the rest of the afternoon. Come and talk to us. And that's where I think I will end. Thank you very much for all your time.